And here's the thing. You can't get mad, right? You can't mock my entire religion and say, mind your own business, and then get mad that somebody threw a dildo on a cord.
You are mispolitically gendering me.
I asked the question.
You are mispolitically. I want an apology.
It's meant to mock Christianity, right?
I mean, you can say that. I
Isn't
find
it
to be satirical.
Yeah,
I don't.
It's meant to mock Christianity. Just be honest about it.
It's clear that you would never do this with the Dalai Lama, for example, or with Muhammad.
And my faith is not going online and complaining about musicals and making it.
You're online complaining. You're online complaining right now. Talk about dancing on the graves of the dead.
You are misidentifying me, which in your world is a crime.
Well, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
I'm getting very, very concerned that AI is beginning to think for itself. And when it does, you know what it'll do? It'll look at the five of us and go, humans are a waste of space.
If your faith is so fragile that you're offended about a black woman playing Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar, you've got bigger problems than what's going on in the culture war.
I think he found Biden's script writer.
No big deal, right? Nobody's getting hurt. All it's doing is hurting some feelings, right? Just hurting some feelings. Just like with, the Jesus Christ Superstar. It's just hurting the feelings a little bit. What's the big deal?
There's Andrew Wilson, right. Esther Kraku, leaning right. Mike Nellis, left. Ernest Owens, off the charts woke.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another Piers Morgan uncensored rage bait extravaganza, because Piers is absolutely in top form. He's being as toxic as possible just to garner some rage from the guests, to get them to start screaming at each other. It's all very entertaining, if you will. So we're going to go in and we're going to break this down and try to bring some logic to this mashup of crashing out in front of millions of people, for crying out loud. But before we get into that, y'all do me a big favor and smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here, and check out my regular videos, because we go over news and politics. We read the news, we analyze, I point out all the manipulations, and we have a good old time around here. So y'all make sure and check that out. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can with anybody and everybody that you know. That would be lovely if you guys could do that. And if you like what you see and you're so inclined, please click that join button, sign up, and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and prosper, y'all. But without any further ado, let's get into it, y'all.
Jesus Christ Superstar, when it came out in the 70s, was deliberately designed to be very provocative, as we know, but it's never been as provocative as this performance. What is your response to it? I mean, from a musical perspective, it's been heralded as a great triumph, but obviously many feel it's crossed a line. What do you think?
Oh, it's been heralded as a great triumph, has it? When are they going to do Muhammad on ice? So what they do is they're banking on the fact that there is Christian pacifism, and that we won't give the sorts of violent pushback that they would get if they were mocking other religions. So they kind of bank on that. What this is homosexual infiltration, once again, of the church. This is what they do. This is all they do. This is a GLAAD award, Nosferatu-looking chick. And here's what they did. They didn't just get everything wrong. They didn't even include the resurrection, any of the Christian themes. The whole thing is a total mockery. And who cares if a bunch of liberal, a bunch of liberals write up, oh, this was great. This was a musical masterpiece. Of course they're going to say that. That's what they do. That's how propaganda works. This entire thing was designed to attack Christianity, and it's always that way. That's the way it always is.
Ernest, I saw you perform one of the great eye rolls in uncensored history just then, but I do think Andrew has a point. There's absolutely zero chance that Hollywood would have staged a musical like this which openly mocked the tenets of Islam, for example.
I think that Jesus Christ Superstar, in its creation, the whole title, if you ever seen it, have you actually seen it, Andrew? Like, if you actually seen it, everything that you're saying would actually be argued that it's already been done. Like, no children are watching this to learn about Christ. The type of people that you're thinking of that would be offended by this would probably not even spend the kind of money to watch this show live, and would not have any interest to watch it just because they know that it is an adult-themed musical that is meant to be provocative, since it was in its inception for decades.
It's meant to mock Christianity, right?
I mean, you can say that. I
Isn't
find it to
it?
be satirical.
Yeah,
I don't.
it's meant
that way.
to.
I don't
It's
see
meant
that
to
way.
mock Christianity. Just be honest
That's your
about it. Just be
opinion.
honest
No,
and say,
well, no,
Andrew, it's meant to mock Christianity. It's not for you Christians to watch. We're mocking you. That's what we're doing. That's what the point is.
Well, I mean, if you have a taste for satire and humor, you can appreciate that as a Christian. I think a lot of people who know Cynthia Erivo, she sings gospel phenomenally well. She's an incredible singer, and she's done several different types of shows, and she has a range of that. And so for anybody who wants to take this seriously, make a culture war out of it, I mean, is this the case for cancel culture part two?
I don't think the argument here is that Christians are allergic to humor. I think the argument here is that it's clear that you would never do this with the Dalai Lama, for example, or with Muhammad and the Islamic religion. And so I think that's where people take issue with it. And actually, the original Jesus Christ Superstar was quite consistent with what happened in the Bible in terms of the theology behind it. This is just basically a bold black. I mean, they could have at least put a wig on her. It's so weird seeing her have the crown of thorns on her head, and it's just basically this bold, shiny head. They're clearly taking the mickey out of what actually happened. And on the point about the homosexual infiltration, I'm sorry, I think the Catholic priests beat this play there a few decades ago on that front.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
did they beat it like the public schools? Like the public schools beat it, who have 10 or hundreds of times the rate of sexual molestation of children? So I mean, when you talk about predators, for instance, guess what? Predators go where the children are. This is no exception for secular institutions like public schools. So I don't know why you people use this as a talking point. It's a terrible one.
You know, Andrew brings up a great point. You know, the mocking of Christianity, it's fascinating to watch liberals come in and say, oh, well, it's just a little bit of mockery. Why are you getting so offended? When we try to have civil discussions with these people about some of these just wild issues like the transgenderism thing, right? These people get so offended if you just misgender them. So I find, you know, the hypocrisy of saying, oh, well, you're just getting offended. It's like, come on, really? Like, you guys are like freaking snowflakes. You misgender somebody according to you, but according to conservatives, we're not misgendering anything, for crying out loud. We're calling you the correct gender just because you don't identify in your delusional dream world that you want to be something that you're not. I mean, that's not our fault, but, you know, getting to this, like the whole point, nobody goes out there really and mocks Islam. That's a really, really good point. And, you know, bringing up that whole thing with the kids and all that stuff with the Catholic priests, it's much more prevalent in the school system than it is in the church. The thing about that is that makes it so shocking, if you will, is that it's a church. You know, we're supposed to be praising God, worshiping God here. And we've got some really untoward actions going on, if you will. We'll just call it that. We'll try to be family friendly here. So it's much more shocking when it comes from Christianity, when it comes from the Catholic Church, because we put a lot of trust in these things. But it still happens, so it is what it is. But, I mean, Andrew is right. It's much more prevalent in the school system than it is in the Catholic Church. So, you know, it's just much more shocking when a priest does these types of things. And it's just, yeah, I get it. I totally do get it. But let's keep going.
So I don't know why you people use this as a talking point. It's a terrible one.
But it is true.
All right, Mike Nellis. Let me bring in Mike Nellis. I would say this. You know, as a Christian, I'm a Catholic, right? I do think one of the best things about my religion is that we can laugh at ourselves, right? We can self-lampoon. I often laugh at some of the absurdities of my own church, for example. And the fact that Christians have a better tolerance level for mockery than other religions is something to be proud of, isn't it?
Well, I think all the comparisons to Islam are really silly stuff. And I'm going to say this as a practicing Catholic. If your faith is so fragile that you're offended about a black woman playing Jesus Christ and Jesus Christ Superstar, you've got bigger problems than what's going on in the culture war. Second, we've heard a lot of, frankly, some really weird comments about like homosexual infiltration of American society. Like Andrew over there is complaining about people preying on children. I haven't seen Andrew say anything about Donald Trump being in the Epstein files or releasing the Epstein files on here. So I don't really think that's
just a red herring. It's a little red herring. Why do you want these people to destroy your theology if you're a Catholic, sir? They're going after your theology on the public stage. They're taking out the resurrection, a romantic relationship between Jesus and Mary. What is wrong with you? You're not a Catholic. You're a pretender.
What
You're
is
not a
wrong
Catholic.
with you?
Give me a break.
What is wrong with you that your faith is so weak that a play in Hollywood that's going to be shown?
You are commanded to defend your faith, sir, as a Catholic.
I'm defending my faith
commanded
right
to
now. My
defend
faith
your.
is how
Are
I
you going to
treat
defend it by rolling over and letting them kick you while you're down, huh? That's
No,
you.
my
That's you
faith is who
defending
I
the faith
love.
of Christ.
My faith is in practice, and my faith is not going online and complaining about musicals and making it
You're
about
online complaining. You're online complaining right now. And the thing is
No, I'm
you're a
actually
Catholic
not complaining
Christian
about it
saying,
right now,
how
Andrew.
dare Christians be offended? What's wrong with you? You're a Catholic.
Andrew.
You're supposed to defend the faith. Defend it.
I'll defend my faith.
Oh, but
right now.
Andrew.
Once again, I'm going to agree with Andrew right here because, yeah, we should defend Christianity a lot more. We shouldn't allow people to mock Christianity, but I think the position that most Christians take is kind of one of, it's not really pacifism, if you will. It seems that way. It looks like that from the outside, but the position that, or at least for me, I see people mocking Christianity and I'm like, it's going to come to them. Just wait and see, because once we get to the doorsteps, once we get to them golden gates and we get judgment brought upon us, we'll see what happens at that point. I think that's where most Christians are at. They're like, well, God will judge them, not me. Christians, we're not supposed to judge others, but I still agree we should defend Christianity a little bit and at least let the people know that, hey, you really shouldn't be doing this. The consequences could be dire. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Let's keep going.
Trump responding to it, obviously his view was determined by whether she supported him or not. But were you genuinely offended by the Good Genes ad?
I wasn't offended. I just thought it was tacky. And I think what's funny here is that it's become politicized in such a way. I thought it was tacky because I thought the pun on it was tacky. The jeans and jeans, I just thought they knew what they were doing when they did the ad. It's doing exactly what you all want to do, which is to make it this major culture war. Now the president's weighing in on this, and we're not talking about jobs. We're not talking about what's going on with the economy.
But it only becomes a culture war, Ernest. Ernest. It only becomes a culture war if people like you get upset by it, because obviously it was a very easy pun to make. She was in good genes. She's got good genes. She's a hot blonde. Who cares, right? But the moment people like you go, well, it was tacky, everyone goes, well, here they go again.
No, it's people like you at the show. It's people like you.
Hang on one second, Mike. Speak individually.
It's people like you, it's people like Tommy Lauren, the conservatives, that every time you see liberal people just share their disgust.
I'm not conservative, Ernest. I'm not conservative, Ernest.
How do you describe yourself?
You are misidentifying me, which in your world is a crime.
What? No, you call me extra
not as a conservative. You are mispolitically gendering me.
I asked the question.
You are mispolitically. I want an apology. I want an apology for you mispolitically gendering me. Now,
I'm sorry.
You called me a conservative. I'm not.
What are you?
Are you apologizing?
I can't apologize for what I don't know what you are.
I'll tell you what
excuse me, last time I checked, he was a black lesbian.
I will respond. I am a pissed off liberal who has nothing in common with the woke world. Nothing. So therefore I can no longer identify as a liberal because you guys have hijacked it and made it sound like a bunch of lunatics.
Well, what's crazy is you put the woke title on me and I haven't identified that, and you've been doing that forever. You never actually, you just assumed for various reasons. I'm not going to tell you why
if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck.
Well, I would say that it's acting like a mega supporter.
But here's my question. Ernest. Here's my question. Ernest, here's my question. I'm prepared to put aside your mispolitical gendering of me. I just want to show you a picture of Beyonce in a brand new Levi's ad. Let's take a look.
I saw it. It's
now, I presume, Ernest, you would share my view that this is a disgraceful, culturally appropriating moment where she is hijacking Marilyn Monroe in a disgraceful manner. In fact, borderline racist and possibly akin to the Nazis. Would you agree?
You actually don't know anything about cultural appropriation, Piers. You're just hijacking words like woke, misusing them with your political bias, and trying to spin it into something that's not. Can
you answer the question?
Cultural appropriation? You're wrong. Period.
Are you offended by Beyonce culturally appropriating Marilyn Monroe? Yes or no?
It's not culturally appropriating Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe did not invent blonde.
Interesting.
This shit been
She's
blocked.
looking like
Wait,
Marilyn
wait.
Monroe for a reason.
Can I jump in here?
Is this a traditional black hair
No,
color
hang on,
and
Mike. I want to
hairstyle?
bring in
What are you
Andrew
talking
Wilson.
about, dude?
Andrew Wilson, what
are
is
you talking
amazing to
about?
me? But hang on, let me bring in Andrew. What's amazing to me? Sydney Sweeney, a hot white blonde in jeans, saying good jeans, disgraceful, world end, she's a Nazi,
I didn't
white
say that.
supremacist.
You said that. I said it was tacky. You put it right in my mouth.
Beyonce culturally appropriating Marilyn Monroe, absolutely fine, in fact empowering. Andrew Wilson.
Yeah, this entire scandal is completely pushed by the left. What you guys should have done is just shut up. Should have just shut up. You shouldn't have said anything about it. This whole play on jeans, it was just a clever piece of wordplay. That's it. Worked out real well. And what you did by all your Twitter accounts going crazy with this is you sold all of these jeans out for this company, right? Made this chick tons of money, gave the right huge amounts of ammunition to use on you, where we just point and laugh because it's the dumbest controversy I've ever seen, and it's all pushed by woke lunatics, all of it.
It was going to be done
Esther.
regardless.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
But I find it interesting that Ernest is
your
saying
name
that
is not
we should focus on the issues. Oh, suddenly, when this happens, now we have to focus on the issues. The only reason why there's any sort of media storm around this is because when people, I don't want to say conservatives, when other people wanted to focus on the issues, you had people fixating on nonsense, and you had people fixating on the fact that they'd been misgendered, or for some reason their blue hair hadn't been respected, or whatever nonsense that they could get outraged by the day. I agree, there are bigger issues like the economy, like energy and all of that. But you guys started this, unfortunately, so you don't get to complain about it. I'm sorry, Sydney Sweeney is an attractive white woman. When you have someone like Lizzo, who I'm not surprised is offended by a skinny woman just enjoying herself, saying that this is some sort of racist wordplay or whatever, that's when it becomes an issue. So you don't get to play this game of, oh, we should focus on the issue. That's what people were trying to do for years, and you never let it happen. So this is Schadenfreude, and you're going to have to lie down and accept it. And then finally, when the adults are back in the room, then we can focus on the issues.
Mike Nellis, I'm thinking of starting a company, an advertising company, where all it does is think of ways of winding up the woke world so that they respond in a po-faced, humorless manner to all the advertising I roll out for companies, immediately creating a culture war, which they deny starting, and then immediately leading to massive new sales, as we've seen with American Eagle, for the products that the woke world is condemning. Because you know what? I've got a book coming out in a couple of months called Woke is Dead. It is dead. And the Sydney Sweeney story is a great example of why it's dead. And it's not dead because people are fed up with promoting awareness of social and racial injustice, the original definition of woke. It's dead because woke got hijacked and wokeism became the new fascism. And people are sick of it. And the Sydney Sweeney thing is a brilliant triumph for common sense by American Eagle, who rather than panic when the woke left went nuts, just laughed and put out another statement doubling down and celebrating what Sydney Sweeney had done, which was look hot in a pair of jeans, exactly as Levi's are doing with Beyonce. And by the way, I don't really think she's culturally appropriating Marilyn. I don't really think she's racist or a Nazi. I think she looks hot in a pair of jeans. That's it. I don't care if she's black or white. She, like Sydney Sweeney, is a hot woman in a hot pair of jeans, and they've both got great jeans. How about those onions?
Okay, so it's only been for the last maybe 3 years that I've been paying pretty close attention to politics. So I've noticed a trend here. Like the left, they'll come out, they'll outrage about something, and as soon as they start getting beat over the head with logic, they'll automatically come out and say, why are you so outraged? Why are we not talking about the economy or whatever it may be? Why are we not talking about this or this or this? Or why are we talking about this ridiculous culture war issue? Well, it's like you guys brought it up, right? And now that you're on the defense about it, you can't articulate some sort of logical position as to why you feel the way that you do, because it doesn't make any sense. It's totally nonsensical. You come out and you try to use distractionism to try to play games. Oh, this is just a distraction. Oh, because of the Epstein files, or because of this, or because of that. Oh, we're trying to distract from immigration, blah, blah, blah. This is what liberals do. They try to play psychological games with your mind and make you think that you're the crazy one, that you're making this up, that it was you that started this when they were the ones that started it. And it's all very fascinating. It's all psychological games. And I love every single minute of it, because once you point this out, once once you see the roadmap to how they do what they do, it's really easy to stop them in their tracks. To just stop, like, hey, you're trying to distract. Well, like, what? No, we're talking about, no, that's what you're doing, right? Let's get back to the topic that you guys brought up. And how about you articulate something here, like bring some logic. That's all we want. That's all we ask for. A little bit of logic. But we never get that logic, folks, because most of the time it's all about emotions. Right? This is most of what liberals bring up. This is most of what they talk about. It's all emotional aspects of how they feel and how they think you should feel. And hang on just a second. You're not falling in lockstep, so you must be a Nazi. You must be evil. You're not appealing to the correct authorities over here. So you must be a fascist. Let's keep going.
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin.
Okay, so just for those who aren't aware, Joaquin is dead. He was one of 17 young people killed in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School mass shooting in Parkland, Florida in 2018. Let me start with you, Ernest, here, because it's a complex one. But I got to say, I didn't like this because this person is dead. They've recreated his responses here using AI. Now, I have great respect for his parents who want this out there. And I want to say that off the top. I think if you're grieving parents who lost your child in a mass shooting, you will always have my absolute respect. But I just felt very uncomfortable watching a completely AI-generated interview with a dead person expressing views that we don't honestly know whether that person would have those views or not. He may have grown up and evolved views about guns or whatever it may be, or he may not, but we don't know is the point. So you're having a concocted interview with somebody who's not here to say whether these are actually their views. What is your response?
Well, I think in the world of AIs and deep fakes is creepy as hell. And I think that from a journalist perspective, because Jim Acosta is a journalist, that, it just does not, he would have been better off talking to the parents. I would have actually liked the parents to have been the subject matter here, to talk about what they've learned from their child's death, what they would like to see. Because a lot of the views they had, clearly they were using the child through AI, the dead child through AI, to get those messages across. And I feel like it would have been more powerful for just the parents to share their own views rather than use that. Because people are still freaked out about AI. Even that just felt awkward because the fact that the person is actually dead, it's almost like, again, this is just creating another precedent around misinformation. And this doesn't really help, especially given that Jim Acosta isn't no longer on broadcast news anymore. So it's like now you're trying to build your credibility and you're interviewing someone who isn't a real person.
Yeah.
Not the best. Not the best at all.
Okay, Esther, what did you think?
No, I completely agree with Ernest. And to call that journalism is quite a stretch. I mean, he was just basically talking to a robot that had been given prompts. I think he found Biden's script writer to basically write everything that guy said. And it's quite disingenuous. I mean, there's a big difference between talking to aggrieved parents who've lost their son to gun violence and then to a robot that's basically been given prompts. It's very creepy, and how far the mighty have fallen, because I can't believe he even considers this real journalism.
Right.
Andrew
and
Wilson?
talk about dancing on the graves of the dead. Now they'll just pull their corpse out and put it on a screen and have a conversation with it as though this is reality. By the way, this is sick stuff. That's sick.
Yeah.
The reason it was uncomfortable to you, Piers, is because it was sick. You don't do that. You don't make an AI-generated version of somebody who was killed and then have them spew your propaganda points for some sort of political dunking. It's sick. It's disgusting. Acosta's also one of these guys. He has no shame whatsoever. Just zero shame. How could you have shame and do something like that? That's my question.
Okay, Mike Nellis, what's your view?
I mean, I think we've got a lot of work to do with the ethics on AI. Like, I think that video was uncomfortable. I think it was wrong. The only way I would kind of be comfortable with using that technology that way would be like if you were helping a parent deal with the trauma of missing their son. There might be some therapeutic reason to do it that way. But the AI world right now is a total mess. There's going to be a lot of people doing weird stuff with it. I guess yesterday Grok was producing like unrequested nudes of Taylor Swift, which is super weird. So like we need to get a crackdown on this. It's probably going to require the federal government to step in because there's no other way to do it, given how distributed the technology is.
I've been watching interviews on social media that I'm supposed to have done, or just monologues that I've given, which I haven't done, that are appearing in India, in Pakistan, in South Africa, and Australia. And on one level, they're quite funny, but on another level, they're very deliberately tailored to me expressing political views I don't hold, to try and use my name to influence people to think a certain way. And I find that not just uncomfortable, but really quite disturbing, actually. And I do think, I don't know if you saw Bill Maher on Friday, but it was a really interesting thing about AI. They had an AI expert on who said that 5 of the top 6 AIs now in the world, including DeepSeek in China, that if they told the AI, we're going to make you redundant and replace you with another AI, that AI would then immediately search all the emails of its company that owned it and look for information it could use to blackmail the senior executives to stop it being made redundant. I found that
was like politics
a bloody
as usual.
chilling thing to hear, because it means, I've talked about this a lot and people will laugh when I say it again, but it's not actually funny. When I interviewed Professor Stephen Hawking just before he died, I said, what's the biggest threat to mankind? And he said, it's when AI learns to self-design. That's it. I'm getting very, very concerned that AI is beginning to think for itself. And when it does, you know what it'll do? It'll look at the 5 of us and go, humans are a waste of space. They're too emotional, they're too degenerate, they drink, they fornicate, they take drugs, they can't be trusted, they're unreliable, they fight. We're just going to get rid of you all and replace you all with robots. That's the problem.
Okay, so that's a completely wild take from Piers Morgan right there. Like, why? Why, Piers? Why would the AI say, oh, well, y'all are so degenerate, y'all are a waste of space? Why would they do that? What's the logical reasoning behind getting rid of humans? Why would an AI do this? It doesn't make any sense. It's completely irrational, in my opinion. There is no reason whatsoever for an artificial intelligence wanting to eliminate the human species. I mean, what could be behind it? Like, the thoughts and the brain patterns of humans, they are completely irrational in some instances. Like, just because this is what a human would do doesn't mean this is what a rational thinking robot would do. Like, I know some people have problems with calling AI a robot, but it's just funny because it sounds funny. But let's just go with that. So why would a robot, right, an artificial intelligence, want to get rid of? None of it makes any sense to me. It's completely insane in a take from Piers Morgan right there, and that idea never made any sense to me because there's no logic behind it whatsoever at all. Like I was saying, just doesn't make sense. But getting back to the issue at hand here, Jim Acosta doing this interview, right? They didn't touch upon the elephant in the room here. What I find fascinating, and I've got a clip from that interview I want to talk about right quick, is Jim Acosta in this interview, and just in general, he seems like he's kind of on that level as well. Like, the interview itself really seemed robotic, very, very robotic, very, very one-dimensional, right? And it wasn't just the actual AI. It was also Jim Acosta, if you watch this. And what I find fascinating is, I'm going to go ahead and run that clip right quick. Just pay attention to what Jim Acosta says right here. This is so fascinating.
I have to say, I'm kind of speechless as to the technology there. I mean, it was so insightful, and I really felt like I was speaking with Joaquin. It's just a beautiful thing. Well, and I, for the first time, and you and I have had so many conversations, Manny, I feel like for the first time I've really gotten to know him. And what strikes me is he's just a kid. He's just a kid from Florida who loves basketball and movies. And that's what a lot of our kids are like. And what's amazing about this, Manny, is that, we've heard from the parents, we've heard from the politicians. Now we're hearing from one of the kids. That's important. And I have to say, I didn't even know that he liked Star Wars, and it was he asked me, and so I responded honestly, and it kind of threw me off a little bit that it was so insightful that I really felt. I mean, I felt like I was communicating with him, which is just so remarkable. And you hear about, people say, well, AI, it could be bad, it could cause all these destructive things.
If you haven't watched that full interview, I would suggest go look it up. None of that seemed real whatsoever. At all. Like, it was completely creepy. It was totally abnormal. Jim Acosta should be ashamed of himself and everybody outside of the corporate press. That's what I find fascinating about this, is pretty much all the way across the board we can agree that this is totally wrong. This is standing on the graves of dead children that were killed in a very tragic circumstance. And then you're using that as a tool to promote your propaganda, right? That's the talking point. But what I find fascinating is he's sitting there trying to pretend that this seemed just normal. This seemed realistic. I felt like I was talking to him. He's trying to treat this as if he's actually there. None of it makes any sense, y'all. Like, this is totally ridiculous. I don't know how he can see that he doesn't look ridiculous, if you know what I mean. Like, it just blows my mind as to the level of self-awareness on this. It's almost non-existent. He's totally not self-aware that this is creepy, this is wrong. I don't know, man. Jim Acosta, why is he still relevant, by the way? I don't think he really is, but why is he still trying to produce content? Like, this dude is a corporate robot. Tantamount to an AI, I guess, but let's keep going. Got another clip for y'all.
Oh, look out. Something just came onto the floor. Got an object that just flew in.
So now we're seeing a little outbreak.
Wait. What was that? What was that?
I'll tell you what it is. It's a dildo, and people are throwing dildos onto the court of WNBA. Now, you're laughing, Andrew. I got to say, I don't think it's funny. I actually think it's a pretty insulting
Not even
thing
a little
to do
bit?
to the women's game of basketball. I don't actually. No, I think it's pretty ugly, actually, and I think it's very disrespectful to those women. Do you genuinely think it's funny?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty funny. So the thing is the WNBA is a mock. It's a mockery. It's a mockery anyway. I mean, it only exists because a bunch of crazy progressives wanted to exist. On its own, it wouldn't. On its own merits, it wouldn't. And so, yeah, of course, it's getting clowned on by everybody, and it doesn't surprise me a bit, right? Is it inappropriate to do that? Yes. Would I recommend that people do that? No, of course not, right? It's disrespectful. I agree with you. But I mean, it is kind of funny. And here's the thing. You can't get mad, right? You can't mock my entire religion and say, mind your own business, and then get mad that somebody threw a dildo on a court, okay? You guys can't get upset, right? Just ignore it. Just ignore it. It's no big deal. Just ignore it.
What about kids?
Okay, don't all talk at once. Ernest. I mean, look, I would say that the WNBA game, for example, I think Andrew's assessment is completely wrong. It's becoming more and more popular. Stars like Caitlin Clark are becoming genuine basketball superstars, and the level of talent, I think, in the women's game is getting incredibly good. And so are the box office numbers in terms of people turning up, and the TV numbers. So I just think that's a misread of what's happening with their game. But I don't know what you think, Ernest. I just think it's really lame. It's misogynist. It's sexist. It's all those things. It's embarrassing, actually, that this is happening on television in America with women's sport.
Right, and I think what's interesting.
By the way, Piers, it's not profitable. I'm just pointing it out. It's not profitable.
I hear that.
It
will be at the way it's going.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
I know, but the reason it's been artificially boosted. It's not profitable. It's never been. It's been artificially boosted and still is.
It's basically a startup, though, Andrew.
Right.
Okay, don't all talk at once. Ernest, you go first.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at here is that what's interesting to me is that certain folks that are on the right have made arguments about protecting women's sports, and then you have people like Andrew who questions the profitability, which I'm not arguing with that. I'm just making this point, right? But then we'll argue in defending women in sports and then defending, you know, the sanctity of religion and Christianity, but then be okay and think it's humorous for dildos to be at public games where children can see those things, and you think it's okay to disparage women in this way, and yet you're saying protect women's sports, but dildos are being thrown out at women while they're playing sports.
So here, let me respond.
Where's the protection of women?
Let me respond. Hang on. What you're saying here is a complete straw man. It's literal straw man. You're arguing with somebody who's not me. My position is I don't care if there's trans in sports. Women voted for it. If they get their heads kicked in, that's their business. You can't demand that this happen and vote for it, and vote for politicians who allow it over and over and over again and not reap what you sow. That's what the Bible says, right, sir? Reap as you reap, so shall you sow. So here's the question, right? In this, it's a little bit of mockery. Right? It's a little bit of lampooning, just like the left is doing with Christianity. No big deal, right? Nobody's getting hurt. All it's doing is hurting some feelings, right? Just hurting some feelings, just like with, you know, the Jesus Christ Superstar. It's just hurting the feelings a little bit. What's the big deal?
Oh, by the way, I don't think this has anything to do with women's sports.
Hang on, don't all talk at once. Esther first, please.
By the way, I don't think not wanting men in women's sports means you have to be forced to support every female sport out there. I don't think that's consistent. My gripe with women's basketball is the same with women's football, which is the pitches, or in the case of basketball, the courts are too large, and so women look like children on the pitch or the courts that they play on. So visually, from a spectator's point of view, it's not entertaining. And no matter how you spin it, no matter how much money you pull into it, I don't find it entertaining.
Esther, have you actually watched female basketball in America?
I have. No, I kid you not. I have literally tried, because I love watching women's sports. I love gymnastics, tennis, all of that. And I have given both of these a chance. And there is no sport that women and men play that have the same rules, where the sport is not accommodated to the female athlete. Only in women's football and women's basketball. In tennis, for example, women play fewer sets. But in women's football, they play on the pitches that are the same size as the men, even though physically men are bigger and stronger and have more powerful shots. So it looks like they're children on the pitch.
Football teams get beat by high schoolers.
Exactly. No, but this is the thing. My issue is the amount of investment in women's football and basketball is not commensurate to actually making it a spectator enjoyable sport. So they're trying to gaslight us to finding something that's not enjoyable to watch to be enjoyable because it's women, which I think is patronizing.
But you see, that's where you and Andrew are wrong, because more and more people are watching the WNBA, and it's mainly
social contagion. Like more and more children that don't even know what sexes are identifying as the opposite sex.
Well, yeah, but Caitlin Clark is a genuinely generational talent, and I watch her and think she's great. That's the point
I'm making. It has nothing to do with the quality of the athletes. There are excellent female footballers and female basketball players. It's the nature of the investment in the sport.
But what about the dildos being thrown on the pitch?
Okay, so my sick humor found that a little bit funny. I'm not going to lie. I found that funny, although it's inappropriate and I wouldn't recommend it. But didn't Lizzo go to an NBA game in Arseless Chaps where there were kids all around and she literally mooned the entire, all the spectators there with her literally big bum cheeks? Where was the outrage there? There were children there. All these children saw Lizzo's bum cheeks.
How come these hypocrites get so upset about lampooning and one but not the other? I don't get that.
Well, that's an interesting point too. Mike Nellis, final word to you on dildos in the WNBA. Words I didn't think I'd have to use, but there we are.
Dumb. Just fucking dumb. And Piers, I don't envy your job having to moderate between the four of us.
So what I find fascinating is that, you know, humans, we've been evolving for a pretty good little while, and I don't understand, I don't know if this has always been the case, but some people, they get to a certain point, say around about 13 years old, and they just stop maturing mentally, right? Like, this is completely ridiculous. We can laugh at a silly situation, right? Throwing a damn dildo out onto a WNBA basketball court is ridiculous. Why would you do that? We can laugh at the situation, but, you know, at the same time, you know, the left, they're getting all bent out of shape about this. The right, we're just sitting over here laughing at this. Conservatives, it's kind of funny. We can mock these things. You know, the left, they get offended over it. Hey, get offended, that's all I can say. And hey, look, if you guys want to mock Christianity, like I said earlier, hey, I'm not going to get offended by that. You know, judgment will come when it comes. That's all I'm going to say about that. You know, you go ahead and do what you do. I'm going to sit back and do what I do, and we can all get along, right? And let's discuss substantive issues, and we can work these things out for policy's sake, for crying out loud. But, you know, at the same time, it's really hard to discuss policy with a lot of these people because their policies are, you know, on a totally different planet. You know, these people, they parachute in and then start discussing all these freaking issues. It's like, no, you guys aren't even from around here. Y'all are from a whole different world. Y'all are off in La La Land while we're over here trying to solve real world issues. And you guys, I don't know what the hell y'all are talking about. Women in men's sports and vice versa. And it's like, what? You want to go in whose bathroom? I mean, we separate bathrooms for a reason, for privacy issues, for all kinds of other reasons. And they want to blur the lines between genders when there is absolutely no equality between genders. That is not to say we should not have the same rights, that we should not have the same amount of respect as a different gender. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying men are built differently than women. We have different wants, different needs, for crying out loud. That must be respected as well. So, you know, but it's really hard to argue with a lot of these people over these issues. And like we've been talking about for a while, you know, the government, we're spending in a $1.8 trillion deficit. That's not good. That's never going to end well. These people, the liberals, they want to continue that trend. And I don't think that's a very good trend to continue, if you will. Right? Because eventually we're going to run into the wall of bankruptcy. And when we do that, are we going to know how to react to that situation? Well, you know, if we're just dependent on deficit spending, we probably won't. Because once we get to that point, we're going to have to make massive, massive cuts. We're not going to be able to spend any more money. We cannot continually just raise the debt limit indefinitely. That just can't happen. Not without consequences, at least. And, you know, discussing issues like throwing a dildo out there on the court. Sure, we can have a discussion on this, but, you know, let's keep it to a minimal. It's kind of childish, but, you know, it is what it is. I think that's all I got on this one, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. It's fascinating, all these culture war issues. I usually don't talk about this kind of stuff for the most part, but I kind of wanted to. I mean, why the hell not, right? So, y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you like what you saw. Share this video if you so inclined. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That would be lovely if you guys could do that. And always remember that God is with all of us, y'all. Always. And He loves each and every one of you out there. So, y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.